Hey there YouTube, Wrestling Optimus here, back with another action figure review. It's Wednesday night, and you know what that means, time for AEW Dynamite on TNT. After more than a year of waiting, it's finally here, Blood and Guts. This show has a completely different feel, especially because there's two rings, which unfortunately I can't recreate. However, they do give the entire night a unique feel. The stage is also different. Rather than connecting directly to either ring, stairs run down both sides and lead to the ringside area. I don't know if that'd work every week, but as a one-off, I like it. The rest of the card looks fun too, and I'm excited to get into it. But first, if you're new here, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more pro wrestling and action figure content. Now, we're headed into my custom dailies place, so for a recap and review, let's take it over to the action figures. Dynamite opens with the match that Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston demanded last week against the newly christened MT Nakazawa and Kenny Omega. Don Callis takes over for Justin Roberts in order to give a proper introduction, then strangely says that Kenny isn't even here, so now it's a handicap match. Commentary protests, claiming that's a lie, as Eddie and Mox make their way to the ring. Sure enough, Omega jumps out from the crowd and attacks them with the AEW title before throwing Kingston in the ring to start the match with an advantage. It's short-lived though, as Moxley evens the odds. As you'd expect, Nakazawa takes the overwhelming majority of the offense and is even used as bait to unsuccessfully lure Kenny back into the ring when he goes to run away. It doesn't work though, and Nakazawa eats the pin. While Eddie and Mox celebrate, the Young Bucks appear in the tunnel, but it's only a distraction as the Good Brothers take out the babyfaces from behind. There's a 4-on-2 beatdown until Kenny arrives with his personal cameraman Brandon Cutler in tow. He delivers a one-winged angel to Kingston, then poses for the cameras. QT Marshall is joined by the Factory as he takes on his former best friend Cody Rhodes in a classic grudge match. Fittingly, they don't even wait for the bell and go right at it. Cody tries to use his weight belt early, but gets stopped by the referee, which gives QT an opening to use his own weight belt behind the ref's back. They brawl around ringside, where QT tries to pick a fight with Arn Anderson, but gets slammed into a ring post for his troubles. After a commercial break, both men try to hit a tombstone piledriver, leading to a great exchange of reversals. Somewhere along the line, Cody gets a cut above his eye and it starts to bleed, but he ignores it. QT flips Cody the bird, so he slaps a figure 4 leg lock on and picks up the submission victory. Unfortunately, after the match, Anthony Ogogo comes out, sucker punches the American Nightmare, and covers him with a British flag. This was a great ending to the feud. Not sure why we have to keep it going. Alex Marvez is up in the cheap seats with Scorpio Sky and All Ego Ethan Page. Sky tells Sting that he's the franchise now, while Page takes credit for a couple of Darby's scars. Right on cue, Allen attacks, probably mad that they're in his seat. They brawl around the concourse with Darby hitting a coffin drop off some scaffolding onto the concrete, but the 2-on-1 is too much. Eventually, they throw Darby down a flight of steps, which he sells really well, but you'd think he'd be used to that by now after all those years of skateboarding. The women's #1 contender, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, is here to take on rookie Julia Hart, who debuted on Dark this week. It's a complete squash, and Baker wins with the lockjaw. Taz is in the film room, breaking down Christian's frog splash and killswitch finisher using a suspiciously critical eye. Then he reminds us that Brian Cage beat the #1 ranked Adam Page last week. You know, in case you forgot. Next is an intriguing 4-way tag team match between the Varsity Blondes, Jurassic Express, SCU, and The Acclaimed. Max Caster's entrance rap is great per usual, with a particularly brutal joke about Dark Side of the Ring aimed at Brian Pillman. These are the top 4 ranked teams in AEW, and the winner goes on to face the Young Bucks for the tag belts. According to commentary, SCU's stipulation is in effect, despite this being a multi-team match. but that explains why, in the end, they hit the best Meltzer ever and pick up the victory. That also explains the inclusion of Varsity Blondes in this match as they do the job and head back down the card. We get a quick promo for next week's match between Jon Moxley under his Death Rider persona and the legendary Eugene Nagata for the IWGP United States Championship. This will be the first time that belt has ever been defended outside of New Japan, so that should be really interesting. Kenny Omega comes back out with Nakazawa carrying all of his non-AEW gold to make an announcement. The winner of next week's match between Pac and Orange Cassidy will go on to face Kenny at Double or Nothing. Although Omega doesn't seem to think the freshly squeezed one has much of a chance. That brings out Cassidy, who stands silently as Kenny steals his sunglasses and puts them on Nakazawa. Miro also has an announcement to make before the main event. He says he'll be taking on Darby Allin for the TNT Championship next week, and although he won't need it, the contract states that if Darby can't make it, he'll forfeit the belt. That means 3 title matches are already on the books. Are we sure next week isn't the special episode? Justin Roberts explains the rules for Blood and Guts, which is more like the old WCW-style War Games matches than the current NXT versions. Not only is there a roof, but the teams stand around the ring instead of being confined to cages. The Pinnacle comes out first, followed by the Inner Circle dressed in jumpsuits with the names of various prisons in their respective hometowns painted on the back. For some reason, Proud and Powerful also have their faces painted up like Insane Clown Posse. As promised, Sammy Guevara is first for the Inner Circle, while Tully Blanchard supposedly handpicks Dax Harwood to start things off for his squad. He nails a spinebuster, then quickly goes for the pin to a chorus of boos. Not sure if he was trying to get some heat or if he legitimately forgot the rules. Dax is already covered in blood by the time Shawn Spears joins in the chair. He cracks Sammy in the head with it and taunts the crowd until Ortiz makes things even again with his own chair. He nails Dax with it before Sammy hits Spears with an insane springboard Spanish fly from one ring to the other. That was definitely spot of the night. Cash Wheeler is next. His team uses the 2-minute advantage to wear down Sammy and Ortiz with submission holds before Santana makes the save. Wardlow enters during the picture-in-picture, but just kinda stands there. That means his counterpart, Jake Hager, is next. He runs through the field like they're nothing before turning to Wardlow for a stare-down. They rock each other with a series of big right hands and continue fighting until MJF enters the cage. Max gets in a cheap shot on Hager before spending the rest of their advantage taunting Jericho.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Finally, Le Champion enters the cage, and the bell sounds as the match is officially underway. No pinfalls, only submission or surrender can win it. The teams regroup in separate rings before charging at each other like the airport scene in Civil War. When we come back from another commercial break, one of the rings is destroyed, leaving the wood completely exposed. Santana and Ortiz hit a double team move on Cash, and now both members of FTR are bleeding. Ortiz hangs up Spears in a tree of woe so Sammy can nail him with a coast to coast. Then he holds MJF so Santana can gouge his forehead with a fork like Abdullah the Butcher. The Inner Circle dominate until Wardlow attempts a comeback but ends up taking an unprotected chair shot to the head. I thought those were a big no-no in the concussion era. During the final commercial break, Tully beats up a ref and steals the key. He unlocks the cage door, allowing MJF to crawl out and make his way up the side to the top. He's followed closely by Jericho, who, egged on by a raucous crowd at Daly's place, sinks in the walls, only to get punched in the dick. MJF tries a Salt of the Earth armbar twice, but can't get Jericho to tap out, so he nails him with the Dynamite Diamond Ring. MJF drags Jericho's limp body over to the edge and threatens to throw him off when suddenly, in a panic, Sammy shouts that they surrender and the match just ends. Well, that was anticlimactic, but it's not over. MJF looks menacingly into the camera, then gently shoves Jericho off the cage, sending him into an obvious crash pad. Ugh, Jim Cornette is gonna have a field day with that. Like I said on Twitter, My problem isn't with the crash pad. I understand taking safety precautions after the Matt Hardy incident. But why did Sammy just surrender in a match where seemingly everyone is willing to die to win? He should have just said, "Do it, a dead man can't surrender." But hey, that's what you get from a babyface turn. Let's face it, this was a one-match show. If you liked Blood and Guts, then you liked the episode. If you didn't, then you didn't. I, for one, loved it. Until the ending. I think I know what they were trying to do, but this felt like the exploding barbed wire deathmatch all over again. AEW needs to be careful because they're starting to develop a bad reputation for having a great hype machine, but never truly delivering. Luckily, the rest of the show flew by in the best possible way. Sure, the wrestling wasn't exactly 5-star quality, but they advanced the Elite storyline, we got to see Kenny with all of his gold, and not only is the card basically set for next week already, it looks absolutely amazing. Alright, that'll do it for AEW Blood and Guts. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. I'm going to try and get a LEGO build and an unboxing video out this weekend, so definitely stay tuned. And of course, I'll be back next Thursday with my action figure review of Dynamite. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to do all that normal YouTube stuff. Smash the like button, share with any wrestling or action figure fans you may know, subscribe to the channel, and spread the word. You can also talk to me over on Twitter at WrestlingOptimus, or see all my best figure photography over on Instagram at WrestlingOptimus. If you haven't seen last week's review, you can check that out right here. But until next time, I've been Wrestling Optimus, and I'll catch you later.